My name is C.J. Campbell. My husband and I live in Stamford, Connecticut.
You actually are now forever connected to the Eastern Shore of Virginia.
Absolutely, I am. We are planning when we come down there, when we go on vacation next year again, we're going to stop a day early and spend the night on the Eastern Shore and go around and visit places and people and say thank you in person. Hopefully we'll be able to do it in person then. And we can go over to some of these places that we've only been talking about on the phone. And so it'll be great. We have thousands of friends on the Eastern Shore now.
Well, tell me about this most incredible journey that you all have been on. What happened? How did it all transpire?
Okay, I'll back up a little bit and tell you how we got Kitty Hawk without taking too much time. My husband and I go to the Outer Banks for vacation every year. His people are originally from North Carolina. I grew up in Georgia. We love it down there. In 2019, we were staying at a rental property, and there was this little kitty that came out to say hello to us when we pulled up in our car. And we just fell in love with this little kitty, and she didn't seem to belong to anyone. So we talked to the neighbors, we talked to the SPCA, we got online, we did all this stuff to make sure we weren't stealing someone's kitty. And then we brought her home with us to live. And she came, and she's been living in our apartment in Stamford for over a year. And we go on vacation in September every year. So this past September, we went down to the Outer Banks for vacation, and we brought her with us. And we all had a great time. And even though we were social distancing, we decided we can sit on the beach just as easily as we can sit in our apartment in Connecticut, right? So we did all the right things, but then we were headed home. And we had put a collar and a leash on Kitty, and I've since learned that that's not the right way to control a cat, that cats can get out of that. But we didn't, we should have known that. So we were on our way home. We stopped, after we went across the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, we stopped at the Virginia Welcome Center there on the Eastern Shore. And as you know, it's a very large welcome center. There's trucks, it's huge, and there's a toll with the police over there. We decided to Kitty was very unhappy in her carrier. She was crying, she was making noise. I thought, well, maybe she has to use the restroom. Let's take her out. So we got out of the truck. We were really stupid. I'll just say that up front. We were really dumb to have done this. And she freaked out from all the noise. She got loose from the collar, and she ran directly into the wildlife center, and she was gone. I remember standing there looking at her. I'm sorry. Running through a little clearing in the woods, and I looked at my husband and said, she's gone. She's gone. So we naturally were just devastated. We were devastated. We were in shock. We walked through, and then that's like a national wildlife refuge back there that we didn't even know. So we walked through those woods. We lost her at 8:30 in the morning on September 26th. And we walked around those walking paths and through those woods and around that area back there all day. My husband wasn't even paying attention to where he was walking. He had on shorts. His legs were destroyed. He had cuts all over his legs, blood, We finally, around 4:30 in the afternoon, before then, we went over to the Welcome Center and said, we've lost our kitty. Can we make some flyers? Do you have a printer? I have photos. They said, yes, absolutely. Whatever you need, we'll help you do. And so they helped us create these handmade flyers, and they let us tape them up all over the Welcome Center. And we taped them in the refuge, and we did everything we could. And I contacted the Sunset Beach Motel across the street and made a reservation because we weren't going to leave. We wanted our kitty. And while we're sitting in the truck, exhausted, devastated, not knowing what to do, this wonderful, wonderful woman that works at the Welcome Center came over to us, and she doesn't want herself to be mentioned. She's very humble. She's one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my whole life. She said, all glory to God. She doesn't want any of the glory or the recognition. So I'm going to call her the cat lover. And she rescues cats. She has cats she adopts. She has a trap. She helps people find their cats. She saw my husband and I sitting there. She knew about what was going on. She came over to us and she offered to help us. And she gave us phone numbers and she told us to call animal control. And she just did all this. And finally, toward the end of the day, we're like, we're exhausted. We don't feel like eating. We're really hungry. Is there any place near here where we can grab a quick bite to eat? And she said, yes, there's a place up the road called Stingrays. You know, they have, everybody around here eats there. The food is fine. You can go up there and eat. And we said, okay, that's what we'll do. So we drove up to Stingrays, and I mean, we're still in shock. We're still like, what happened? What just happened? You know? And we sit down and we order barbecue, of course, because you can't get good barbecue up here. And our waitress came over, and I didn't eat my barbecue because we knew we needed to eat for fuel, but we weren't hungry. We had no appetite. And she was so funny. She looked at us. She said, y'all didn't like our barbecue? And of course, I burst into tears. Her name was Etta. Her name is Etta. She's worked there many years. I burst into tears, started sobbing. I told Etta the whole story about how we lost our kitty. And Etta looked at me and she said, I know exactly the woman that can help you. And we're like, what? And she said, yes. She said, I know this woman, Laura, and she's an expert at trapping cats and catching animals, and I'm going to call her and give her your phone number and see if she'll call you and help you. So we said, thank you so much. We went back to the wildlife center, and we connected with the cat lover there again, you know, and then we went over to the motel, and we had to get some rest. And we got up because we had been told at that point that cats come out around 4 o'clock in the morning. So we got up the next morning, and we went back over there around 3:30, and we sat out in the woods in the rain, calling our kitty, begging her to come to us. And then finally we decided she's not going to come. She's totally afraid. We had been told by the cat lover and by Laura at this point, she's afraid, she's freaking out, she's hiding. She's probably not going to come to you now. So around noontime that Sunday, we decided we needed to drive home. And we drove home thinking that our kitty was gone forever, but we did have a little hope because we had the cat lover at the Welcome Center and we had Laura. And when we got home that night, we came in. I'm sorry, I'm not usually such a crybaby. We came in and we saw her toys on the floor and we both just broke down. And my husband is like this big, strong guy, you know, he's a man, and even he broke down and sobbed. We just sobbed uncontrollably. And we thought our kitty was gone forever. And I went in the bedroom, and I have a painting on the wall that I painted a picture of Kitty at a Paint Your Pet party last April. And it's directly across from the bed. And I looked at the picture, and I just fell apart. And I reached up, and I took the picture down off the wall. And then something just said to me, you put that picture back on that wall, she's coming home. And that's how our journey started. And the next few months, it's really been a roller coaster. It was the cat lover at the Welcome Center contacting me, staying in touch with me, texting back and forth, sending pictures of Kitty. She was doing everything down there she could. I was talking to Laura on the phone. Laura is a veteran pet tracker. She's I call her a pet detective. You're the pet detective. And she has these methods she uses for the proper way to try to find animals. You have to try to get a sighting on camera. So, you know, she was trying to put out food and put out cameras. It's a wildlife refuge, so you can't just do whatever you want to. You have to have permission. So Christy from the Welcome Center manages the Welcome Center. She went over to Bob at the Wildlife Service and asked him, can we put flyers and can we put traps and can we try to catch this cat? And he said, of course, you know. And so they're talking to everybody down there. I'm home at that point, and I'm emailing, I'm texting. I looked up every animal hospital. Fortunately, the Eastern Shore is small. So there's one SPCA, one animal hospital, one of everything. I contacted everybody and said, can I send a flyer? Will you look for my kitty? I have to tell you that every single person that I spoke to down there said, of course, we'll do anything we can to help you find your kitty. We'll do anything. So I sent flyers to Sheila at the Eastern Shore Animal Hospital. I sent flyers to Bob. I sent flyers to this deputy that works for animal control. And little did I know it, I found out later, he actually went and put out traps near the Welcome Center that day. But of course, he didn't catch her. So then, it would be like, well, where is she? Where is she? We haven't got a sighting. We got a sighting of another cat, and then people would contact the cat lover at the Welcome Center and say, we think we saw this cat, or Laura would go, I went and talked to somebody, and then Laura's like, well, if Kitty left the Welcome Center and walked on those walking paths all the way behind the Welcome Center, the first place she would come to would be a place called Pearl Market. And so I went online. I go, I don't know Pearl Market. I'm from Connecticut. I don't know these places down there. And I contacted Pearl Market via email. And I got an email. I said, we've lost our kitty. Will you post this flyer? And Taylor said, of course we'll post this flyer. Of course we'll look for your kitty. And one of the things Laura had told me the day that the day this happened was go to this place called pawboost.com and post that you've lost her. And they will do the posting on Facebook. So, of course, I immediately did that. It got posted on Facebook. When I'm back home, I'm seeing all these comments from people on Facebook. Oh, yeah, we're looking for your kitty. We're looking for your kitty. And then I had contacted Coastal Bakery, Coastal Baking Company, because a woman who worked there had posted on Facebook that she thought she saw a kitty. So I reached out to them. I called them. I'm like, if I send you a flyer, will you put it up in the window? Absolutely. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. So I was trying to get the word out as much as I could. Laura was going around. She put a feeding station at the point in the refuge center where Kitty ran under the fence. Because what I've since learned from these cat experts is that Kitty will always go back to where they saw you last. And at another point, I sent some of our clothing and some of her toys down to the cat lover at the Welcome Center. And she was putting them in her trap to try and attract Kitty. And it sounds short now, but this just went on for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And, Laura's like, well, maybe I'll move my feeding station somewhere else. And then Taylor at Pearl Market got back in touch with me and said, there's a woman, Meg, who lives on the property here, who said she thinks she's seen your kitty coming around at night. And I said, please ask Meg if I could talk to her, because I wanted Laura to run over and put out a feeding station and the cat lover to go put out a trap, And so she connected us via email. And Meg is the woman who lived in the apartment. And she said, I have 2 cats of my own. I love cats. I'll do whatever I can. She said, I haven't seen her in a couple of weeks. So everyone was worried about getting our hopes up, And Laura, of course, kept saying to me, CJ, you're probably not going to find her tomorrow, but never give up. We will find her. And the cat lover at the Welcome Center, this woman is amazing. She's like, we're never giving up. Kitty is coming home. And Kitty's coming home. So I never gave up faith that Kitty would be coming home. And these 2 women are the strongest, most amazing women I've ever met in my whole life. They're totally dedicated to these cats and to saving them. And people aren't kind to cats. People toss cats off bridges. People do horrible things to cats. But they love them and they rescue them. And then I heard from the cat lover at the Welcome Center that a colleague of hers, Reggie, had a dream that Kitty came home, was found and came home. And Laura had been asking me, have you had any dreams about Kitty? Because usually when I work with people, if they dream about their animal, then it means the cat's coming home. And so he dreamed she was coming home. I dreamed about a little kitten. And then there's another woman at the Welcome Center, Kathy, who taped up one of the flyers on her wall and looked at this flyer every single day. October came around, and the hunters were all there, and they were going to be going into the refuge to hunt. And so I started freaking out. The hunters are going to shoot Kitty. Something's going to happen. Not that anyone would do that on purpose. You know, it would be an accident. But Laura's talking me down off the ledge. CJ, don't worry about it. Why are you shouldn't be upset by this. The hunters might see Kitty. You know, they might see Kitty and tell somebody. You know, and then the other thing that happened was all of the police officers that work over at the Chesapeake Bay Bridge tolls, they were all looking for Kitty. They all had her flyer up, and they were looking for Kitty. So, you know, October was a long month. And then you would get like maybe we saw her, maybe we didn't, you know, and then the cat lover at the Welcome Center said, I know this woman that lives over behind Royal Farms, and she thinks she's seen Kitty over at Royal Farms. And I'm like, but wait a minute, the Welcome Center's down here. You'd have to go up and cross the highway to get behind Royal Farms. So I don't think Kitty would do that, but I was open to anything, anybody who thought they saw my kitty, I was open to it. So then, you know, October went by and it was November, and we're continuing and we're looking for the kitty, and I'm following up again with people with the flyers, and the cat lover at the Welcome Center's out looking for Kitty again, and we think we saw her. I'll put out a trap. I'll put out some food, you know, and then Laura is like, well, maybe I should move my feeding station. I'm going to go put a feeding station at Pearl Market, but we need to get approval. And, you know, these activities just went on and on. The dedication and effort and time put in by these two women was just amazing. So finally it was starting, you know, after Thanksgiving, I started hoping for a Christmas miracle. We all started hoping for a Christmas miracle. And I said to Laura said to me, well, we have to figure out what we're going to do next, you know? So we're all stumped. The things we're doing, we're not catching her. We think she's still there. And one of the things I learned is as long as there's food, cats don't wander around like dogs do. Dogs will just wander off all happy, happy, happy. And cats are like, no, if I have a feeding supply here, I'm staying right here. And I learned that from Laura. I've learned so much from both of them. So anyway, Laura said, well, CJ, I have an idea, but it's expensive. And I go, what's that? And she said, there's an online company that sends out postcards, you know. So she gave me their address. I contacted the guy. I said, I want to send postcards to these zip codes down there on the Eastern Shore. So what they do is you give them the address of where Kitty was lost, and then he does a radius around that, and he sends me a map and says, is this where you want to send them? Well, the first map I saw, I said, well, half of the map is in the Chesapeake Bay, so no, I don't want to send any postcards out to the ocean, you know. And so then we moved it, we played with it. And he sends me a list, and I'd originally thought I would send 1,000, and then he sends me the list, and it was like 3,200, and this was every mailing address, P.O. box, and business address down there. And I said, Laura, who all should I send these to? This is a lot of money. She said, CJ, quite honestly, I would send it to as many as you can afford. So that's what we did. So I put it on my credit card that I had just paid off, right? And they were out within a week, and people started getting them. And they're like a postcard. We designed it. I sent him photos. We put a message on there. And all of a sudden, me, who never gives my cell phone number to anyone, had to open it up to everyone. And I had started getting phone calls from people on the Eastern Shore. I got a phone call from KP, the very first one, and he said, I don't know if this is your cat or not because it doesn't have green eyes. It's got yellow eyes. But my granddaughter said I should call you anyway. So the cat lover from the Welcome Center immediately drove over there and took photos. And at first I thought it was her, and I was so relieved. And then I looked at the pictures, and it wasn't her. It wasn't her. And then time went by, and I got a phone call from another woman. She said, I'm out walking. I think I see your cat right now. Right now, I see your cat. And she took pictures and sent it to me, and I said, oh, that's not her. That's not her. It's amazing how many calico cats there are roaming on the Eastern Shore. So, the phone calls just continued. The phone calls just continued. And then we're all over the place at this point. Oh, she's been seen over at Cape Charles at the bakery. Oh, she's been seen over at the Royal Farm. Oh, she's been seen. And Laura kept saying, I'm not sure those sightings, I'm not sure that's her because it's unlikely she would do all that. But every single time that something came up, the cat lover at the Welcome Center would go and check it out. Go put out a trap, go put out food, reach out to the person who thought they saw a kitty and go see if it was her. So it just continued. And I was starting to the point, Christmas came and went. And I brought up the picture. We had a kitty from last Christmas where she was trying to climb up on the little tree and get her little catnip toy. And, my heart was broken. My heart was broken. But I kept being told, and I never gave up the faith. I might have sunk into despair a few times, but I never gave up the faith that Kitty was coming home. So then what happened was I got a phone call that Kathy at the Welcome Center had seen Kitty at the Welcome Center. And then after that, Meg was in contact with Laura and said she saw that kitty coming around again. So that kind of made us all reset and go, no, she's not at the Royal Farms, and no, she's not over there in Cape Charles. And we figured maybe she's just making that loop between the Refuge Center and Pearl Market. And she's still here. So it was okay, let's reset ourselves. At that point, the Welcome Center lady was not putting out traps anymore. It was pointless, But then all of a sudden, when the call came from Kathy, I saw Kitty, and in that same, within a day or so, a cop over at the toll said, I saw two cats. And then the Welcome Center lady was out in the parking lot, and Laura drives up because she went down there to check her feeding station, and none of this was planned. It all just happened at the same time. And they saw a cat trying to run out in the highway. And they didn't know, is it Kitty? What is it? The cops saw two cats. Is it one cat? What's going on here? So the Welcome Center lady put her cat trap out again. And believe it or not, she trapped a little kitty that was probably 3 or 4 months old. And it was probably the second cat that the police had seen. And she rescued that little kitty, which clearly someone had abandoned, and it had been out in the wild all by itself. And she named it Little Pearl Harbor because it was looking for a safe harbor, and it's a little pearl. And that gave me hope, but then I'm like, but where's Kitty? Where's Kitty? But we were all convinced at that point she's still there. Laura tends to be, she's very scientific in her methods, but she's like a little bit of a skeptic. We don't know. We don't have a sighting yet. Let's make sure we know what we're doing here. And then the cat lover from the Welcome Center is, she's coming home, CJ. She's coming home. She's coming home. And I'm just this is the drill. So the other night, on a Sunday night, Reggie, who works at the Welcome Center, who had the dream that Kitty was coming home, called up the cat lover from the Welcome Center and said, I saw that cat out by the dumpster. And she was tired. She'd been working. She just got home from work. She's like, oh, geez, now I need to go sit out. And then she goes, no, I need to do this. And she's never faltered. She has never faltered. And she went and she put the trap near the dumpster on Sunday night. And when she went to work this past Monday morning, Kitty was sitting in the trap, and it was her. It was her. It was Kitty. It was our kitty hawk. And when I got that picture, And I looked at it and I knew it was her. And you know what? It depending on which days you count, like if you count the days she was lost, it was 100 days. It was exactly 100 days she was gone. And I'm like, we're coming together right now. And I immediately started telling everybody. I've had the whole world involved in this. I got my sister's prayer line going on this. I got everybody's prayers going on this, and they did too. They were these two amazing women. I'll never, ever give up their friendship as long as I live. And basically, the cat lover that trapped her brought her to her house. And she was telling me she's really traumatized. She's really skinny. She's tiny. But she's eating, and then, the next step is, well, is she going to behave like a wildcat? What's she going to do? The very first night, she used her litter box. And my husband, he's a funny guy. He's like, yeah, she's saying, I'm tired of using this outdoor toilet. She was ready to be civilized again. So we didn't know if we were going to go immediately or wait and give her a chance to recover from the trauma. So what we did was, I'm sorry, I was constantly texting back and forth with the cat lover and finding out how Kitty was doing, and she was sending me photos. And like on Tuesday, I said, we're going to go get her. She's fine. We're going to go get her. And I'm very fortunate that I work for an organization that cares about you and your family and what's going on. And I've been there almost 17 years. And they're like, you do what you need to do. You do what you need to do. And when I started texting them and everybody else, all my friends, this photo of Kitty, the little prisoner in her cage, they were all like, oh my God, we never believed she would be coming home. They wouldn't tell me that. But we never believed she'd be coming home. So my hubby and I hopped in the car on Thursday, and we headed, we left our house at 6 o'clock. We got stuck in the Bronx because there was a water main break on Interstate 95 for 2 hours. And then we finally made it down there. And we got to the Welcome Center around 4:15 on Thursday. I was able to meet Christy in person, meet Kathy in person, say hello to them, thank them. When we pulled up in our car, my friend, the cat lady that works there, was parked right there, and I just hopped out and grabbed her. I mean, she had no choice. It was like I hopped out and I grabbed her and I hugged her and she hugged me, and we're such good friends now. And she's been such an example to me, and I've learned so much from her. And I wasn't sure when I was going to see her. We had to hand off the carrier, and she was going to bring it home and get the kitty, and then we were all going to go to Stingray's and grab a bite to eat. But, you have to be careful. And so I pulled a little bag out of my car and said, here, I have this for you. I wanted you to have something of mine. I've been collecting crosses for years. And this is not something I bought. This is a cross I've had for a long time, and I looked through and picked up one that reminded me of you. And here it is. And she looked at me, because we've all been in such synchronicity throughout this whole thing. She looked at me and she said, I have a cross for you. And she handed me a cross, and that's the one I'm wearing right now, is my cross that she gave me. And we grabbed a bite to eat at Stingray's with Etta, and Etta was wonderful. She's the waitress who originally hooked us up with Laura, and Laura couldn't come over. Different people couldn't come, and you can't have a big group of people inside. But this little cat lover friend of mine sat in the car with Kitty till we finished our supper. And then we said goodbye in person, but we'll never say goodbye. And we put Kitty in our car, and we drove up to the Holiday Inn Express, which, by the way, they don't say that they allow pets. But on the way down there, I called them and asked them if we could bring her in, and they said yes. I said, we won't let her out of the carrier, we'll do the right thing and everything. But bottom line is we brought Kitty to the Holiday Inn Express, and we spent the night there, and we let her get out for a little bit. And she was so happy and so relieved and so thrilled to be with us. And then we got up really early yesterday morning. We put her in the back of the car and we drove home. And we pulled in here into our apartment building in Stamford, Connecticut around 1:30, 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. And when we brought her in and opened up the carrier, she kind of tiptoed out, and she looked around, and it was like, I know this place, And she immediately went on a little circuit around checking out every single thing in the apartment. And going under the couch, going under the bed, going in the closets, looking at everything. And she's still recovering. She's still traumatized. But she knows she's here. She knows she's with us. She sits on our lap. She doesn't sit there and let us pet her for a long time because she needs a little bit of space. She's been out living in the woods, and she's really, really skinny. She's so tiny. I mean, when we lost her, she weighed 10.5 pounds, and now I'd be surprised if she weighs 7 pounds. So we'll bring her to the vet next week. We'll get her checked out. But she's home, and she's never gone on vacation again. Her Kitty Hawk's traveling days are over. And just so you know, her name is Kitty Hawk because that's where we got her. So we named her after the town that we got her from. So that's the story. And we're thrilled. And we believe in miracles. And this past year has been so hard for everybody. So hard for everybody in the whole world. It's, with this pandemic, people having to totally change the way we work. And to have this wonderful, wonderful thing happen, this miracle, it's just amazing. It's amazing. We're thrilled. We're thrilled. And we have our kitty back.
Oh my goodness, what a journey.
Here's Kitty Hawk. She doesn't like being held, so she wants to get loose. So I'm going to let her go before she's giving me a really dirty look. I think every single person that played a part in bringing her home deserves to be a part of this story because they were all a part of the story. They were all a part of the story. And I forgot to say this, and I want to say it now. This whole journey we've been on has restored our faith in humanity. It's really easy to see all the negative things in the world, and through this journey we've seen all of the positive things, the kindness of human nature. I don't care about the politics of any of these people, and they don't care about my politics. We don't even talk about that. We've all been focused on finding our kitty and bringing her home. And I love those people on the Eastern Shore, and I will be eternally grateful to them for bringing my kitty back to me.